Let's jump into this first story. We're going to talk about gun control. Biden says no amendment in the Constitution is absolute and calls gun violence a public health crisis and embarrassment as he prepares to sign 6 executive orders cracking down on firearms. There's 2 things I want to highlight as we start this conversation. He says, nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment. You mean infringes? Yeah, he didn't say that word.
Oh, boy.
These are phony arguments, suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake. No amendment to the Constitution is absolute, Biden declared. And then he points to the famous Supreme Court ruling from, I think it's 1919, that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. And that was Schenck as part of the First Amendment's free speech clause, which is wrong because in Brandenburg v. Ohio, I believe it was, 1969, they ruled, actually, you can yell fire in a crowded theater. Joe Biden has to know. I'm assuming he knows that, or he's a moron. I'm assuming he knows it because he has legal experts who actually help craft these executive order policies. He wouldn't be saying stupid garbage unless he's trying to mislead people because this is what they do.
Or he hadn't had his nap yet, and he might have been a little slow. So,
that's fair point. Absolutely.
I would like to point out, impinge is a word.
I know.
Yeah, it is a word.
Okay.
It's just
I
not
was
the
saying
right
he's
word.
not saying infringe because that's actually what's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
I see.
Right.
He's getting cheeky.
the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
But impinged, I guess
You
maybe
can-
that's up for
It
debate.
works. I'm just saying
Shall be impinged.
he didn't want to get too close to actually using the language that would make people go, oh, I see what you're doing. Check this out. He said, from the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. That's a lie. And from the very beginning of the Second Amendment existed certain people weren't allowed to have weapons. So the idea is just bizarre to suggest that some of the things we're recommending are contrary to the Constitution. So here's what's going to happen. You get these lies over and over again. The first thing I'm going to say, studies have found liberals on Twitter, for the most part, only follow liberals, whereas conservatives follow both conservatives and liberals. It has changed a little bit for the most part, though. It is still true. The other thing we see is that liberals get about 95% of their news from liberal sources. Moderates get 60% of their news. They get about 2/3 from liberal and 1/3 from conservative, and conservatives are inverted, getting about 2/3 from conservative and 1/3 from liberal news sources. What this means is that people we call liberals are in bubbles. They don't have any idea what's actually going on outside that bubble. And then you get the media telling them lies. So now people are going to hear this over and over and over again. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. See, free speech has limits. Okay, well, you're wrong. That was overruled in I think 1969. Then they say you couldn't own any gun you wanted to. USA Today fact-checked this. And a bunch of historians were like, there actually weren't really any laws limiting the right of private citizens in the Revolutionary War era from owning military-grade weapons, cannons, artillery, grape shot, all that stuff. And then when they talk about, muzzle-loaded rifles, muskets took a minute to reload. Yes, and they had volley guns since 1339, I think. A volley gun is when they have a bunch of different barrels all loaded, and you have one trigger pull which fires all of them off, which is fully automatic. So Biden is wrong. He is outright denying our constitutional rights in order to justify his executive orders, which violates the Constitution. So moving into this bigger conversation, we'll get talking about guns and about Second Civil War and all that stuff. A lot of people have said, they view Second Civil War or Civil War as like factions marching down the street. I don't think that's what it'll look like. I think it'll be more like insurgency if it does get to the point of violence. But we've already seen Proud Boys and Antifa and right-wing and left-wing groups clash. But more importantly, it's a cold civil war. And this is one of the elements of it. Telling you your rights don't exist and then passing executive orders, that's despotic. The worst thing Trump did was the bump stock ban. Because that was, now I think the Supreme Court, or I'm sorry, one court has ruled, I think it was the 9th district, I could be wrong, that bump stocks are not machine guns. So that may actually get overturned. But they complain all day about Donald Trump's executive orders. Well, here's Joe Biden.
Well, and here's the thing. When you talk about a civil war, okay, shooting in the streets happened already. All right, so we have had that.
Right.
But what about information warfare, which we are constantly bombarded with? What about the fact that, like you said, the constitutional rights are being trampled upon in a way that if the left was actually trying to spark an insurrection, what would they do differently? All right, they're isolating us on social media and shutting down our right to speech. They're trying to disarm us. They have declared whiteness to be an evil thing, so they're othering an entire large segment of the population, and they're using police powers against us. They're refusing to let the police help people during the riots. They actually had the police called off. What would they do different if they weren't actually trying to turn this into a hot war?
Well,
So
would you consider what Mao did with the Communist Cultural Revolution a civil war, a Chinese civil war?
Probably more on the purge side from him, because that was using police state powers against it. I think we're still empowered enough as conservatives or people of the right, whatever you consider yourself. I mean, I'm a libertarian conservative.
Even moderates.
Like
I'm not a particularly conservative person. The interesting thing is that I get labeled conservative for simply telling the truth.
And not being a statist. So if you're an anti-statist, you automatically get lumped on that side of the political spectrum.
This is the craziest thing about it, is that this subject matter you discuss determines whether you're left or right, not your political policies. Because we had Jack Murphy and Michael Mouse in here, and I got into arguments about the wealthy and their ability to influence elections with dumping massive amounts of money. And I said, I'm against it. I don't think these people should have this much power. Much more traditionally left position. You're not going to see these grifters on social media take those clips of me screaming like these billionaires and millionaires are manipulating our elections. They don't want to show that because then I'm not right wing anymore, and they need me to be.
Well, and the dividing line is not right or left as much as it is statist or libertarian individualist. If you believe you can best determine what you should be doing as long as you're not hurting other people, then you're on my team. If you believe the state or the Solons of the woke left know better than you how to live your life and what you should do, then you're on the other team and you're my enemy. And right. I don't mind saying you're my enemy because they're trying to push us out of polite society. They're trying to criminalize conservatism or the ideas that they find offensive. And I find that offensive.
Right. But I'll tell you this. Ian brings up a good point about China because, Ian asks about what Mao did. Mm-hmm. You say it's more of a purge. And I thought to myself, you know what? You're right. Maybe it's not a second civil war because conservatives, for the most part, aren't fighting it.
Well, but we need to. And that's why I wrote the book for one reason. And the problem with the right is that eagles don't flock. I'm not going to be part of a movement or do anything. So they can pick us off one by one. So they can do things like let Twitter shut us down. Like you guys were looking for my Twitter account tonight. Guess what? You can't find it because they grayed me out. They put a sensitive filter so you can't even find me by name because they don't like what I say. I haven't violated their rules.
Yeah.
Not a single one. Ever.
They banned Josie, the redheaded libertarian, for literally no reason.
Yeah.
Literally libertarian account. She interacts. She's a friend of ours. And they just deleted her.
It's in their terms of service. They can ban anyone for no reason at any time.
And they will. It's a social media credit score. And they're doing that. How they do it, what algorithms they're using to actually do it, I don't know. But it's obvious they're doing it because I haven't violated. I haven't gotten a single strike. And yet, you don't even see my face. You see grayed out profile picture when you go to my Twitter feed.
Look, the social credit system is legit. Mm-hmm. They might not have a legitimate score or algorithm that calculates it, but we know it's real. Mm-hmm. Like, you're the wrong kind of person with the wrong opinions, and then all of a sudden you start getting banned from different platforms even if you don't break the rules. You start getting suppressed and shadow banned, and then they ultimately ban you if your opinions are bad.
And that's why we got to stand up. That's why the people who are not statist, not totalitarian, unwoke, based, white pillars, whatever we want to be. I don't care. But we got to band together against it and stand up and say no.
So how do we prevent a purge and a civil war without firing a shot?
Mm-hmm. The first thing you got to do is stand up and fight because too many people on the right have been complacent. We were focused on other things. It's one of the things I talk about in the book. The right thought that if we just focus on foreign policy and national security and business, and then the Constitution will keep us safe. They can't take that away, can they? And we found out we were wrong.
Well, define fight.
Fight in the figurative term. And let me give you, let's do a disclaimer.
But I mean, sorry, I didn't think you meant literally go physically fight people. Just like, what would a person have to do to be engaged in this cultural battle?
Yeah, but first let's give the disclaimer so that when people come after you, they don't blame you for my book. Neither Tim nor I want a civil war or an insurrection, and this is in no way be considered to be a call for anything like that, not a dog whistle or anything else, you losers. Now, figuratively, how we can fight is by banding together and standing up. And we have to actually change our focus. We never used to do that. Did conservatives go to PTA meetings? Did we get involved in state and local politics? No, we didn't think we had to. We thought that the Constitution, the First Amendment, Second Amendment were sacrosanct. They're not. They're coming for us. So if they're coming for us, we have to play the same game. And like Andrew Breitbart said, war.
These people are evil.
They are.
I grew up with this very pragmatic, very middle of the road view. I was pretty far left when I was younger. And I always had this view where it's like there's no real good or evil. Everyone's the hero of their own story. And now, as I'm older, you start to really see it and experience it. It's an interesting thing. You hear a lot from people about how when they get older, they start to believe more in a higher power, more faith-based, especially when they have kids. I'm not getting religious. I'm just saying, man, you really start to understand what evil is. Once you get older, you get involved in politics, you see what these people do. The number one example that really just like was when I heard this one thing, that's when my heart sank and I was like, wow, I have been too nice to people. It was when AOC referred to the child detention centers as influx facilities with controversial records. She spends, during the Trump administration, concentration camp over and over and over again. Trump shut down the Homestead facility. Biden reopened it. And AOC, who had called it a concentration camp, today says influx facility with controversial record. And I was like, wow.
So
what's
evil. She going to wear? She going to wear black this time versus the white outfit? She got to have a different outfit because it's a different administration. Understand the simplest thing, which you just outlined. Everybody, they will say whatever they have to because they're just after power. They want power to tell everyone what to do because they don't believe people make the decisions that they believe need to be made. And they think it's a question of good and evil. Like you said, they think they are the forces of good, stopping evil from destroying the planet. You know, it's not just that you don't believe in climate change, you're killing the planet.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.